Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Life. It all begins here. A tiny baby, ready to take on the world. Wait a minute. Let's go back a second. Shouldn't I say, it really begins more like this?
You want to grab your knees and push back? That's it.
The truth is that nothing is more important to the human race than the process of reproduction. It also happens to be the single most expensive and difficult endeavors we shall ever undertake. The average cost of raising a child in the western United States is almost $500,000. In addition, societies around the world have dedicated the most significant aspects of their culture to the courting ritual. In fact, some of the most common theories about why we do most of the things we do have to do with the mating ritual process. Clothes. The adoption of clothing may have as much to do with protection as with sexual attraction. The dress is suggestive of a symbol of sexual readiness and feminine submissiveness, whereas pants indicate freedom and masculine power. Likewise, mannerisms and traditions help to transmit subtle meanings to potential partners. All this comes into one complex set of rules designed to cause mates to create new beings with a likewise chance of succeeding in also finding mates. Human beings have been designed to conserve energy. This is one reason why you might find it much harder to lose weight than to gain it. We also must understand that the human brain has been divided into several different sections. The reptilian part of our brain is the oldest and controls our automatic body operations. The limbic part of our brain emerged first in mammals and is the source of our emotions and value judgments. The neocortex is the most flexible and complex of these three and represents abstract thought, human language, imagination, and the source of all culture. The neocortex is therefore the most difficult of all parts of the brain, which must be controlled in order to create a successful mating. And being that the whole task of creating and raising children is the most energy-intensive process a human can undertake, the control and convincing of the neocortex is absolutely vital. Therefore, a part of our control process I have labeled as the reproduction control mechanism. In itself, this mechanism seems relatively harmless. However, as a side effect of this process of developing this mechanism, the human mind has been accustomed to distraction from evaluation of this true energy cost of having and raising children. This aspect of our nature is therefore called the distraction mechanism. About the same time humans developed a need for distractions, they also developed a need for storytelling. Storytelling in itself, in addition to bringing a distraction, can also teach us a lot of useful information about life. Recently, in human history, during the period preceding 5,000 years or so, it was discovered by a small group of humans that if they used this storytelling ability correctly, they could manipulate, through lies, the general population, therefore gaining access to a greater share of resources and women. Likewise, the population also learned that if they went along with these stories, they would be well rewarded for their service. This became known as the deception mechanism. Again, the reproduction control mechanism leads to the distraction mechanism, and therefore to the deception mechanism. Society has therefore become divided into three classes, whose DNA and behavior patterns have been likewise conditioned. The deceivers are those in power. The deceivees are those that support those in power. And the free, those who live between and outside the system. There also exists many gradations in between, and people can even switch roles if the conditions are right. These mechanisms of control are so built in that most people do not even know why they are reacting or seeing things the way they do. Another important aspect of these systems has to do with maintaining the secrecy of its existence. If people were to know exactly how this occurs, the reproduction process in the whole of society would collapse. If someone gains knowledge of things outside of the programming of the body and the mind, these things are automatically perceived as threats. The greatest threat, therefore, comes from information obtained outside of the realm of the senses and mind trap. If a man or woman comes too close to the truth, both deceivers and deceivees will react to censor this individual. It is basically an automatic instinct. They are not even aware of being under the control of this instinct, and even believe that they are logically justified in what they do. They will ignore data which does not support their view, no matter how solid the evidence is. This is the trap of the logical mind. Often, the more intellectual the individual is, the more likely his deception mechanism has become highly developed. This is to compensate for the power of the logical mind to find the truth. A characteristic of these individuals is that they are highly apt towards prejudice and become easily violent or engage in crude speech when their worldview has become threatened. Another caveat of the deception mechanism is that the belief system cannot entirely be based on lies, nor upon truth. If completely based on lies, it will become too apparent that it is a lie. Partial truths, or truths hidden in flowery or archaic language, are therefore acceptable to most engagers of deception. Some people throughout history, such as Nostradamus, purposely hid their extrasensory predictions in vague poetic language, thus avoiding the persecutors of the deception, in this case, the Holy Inquisition. The Bible is an example of hidden truths through vague and archaic language. The various belief systems of the world are therefore reflective of the individual's level of truth-lie obfuscation with which they are comfortable. With atheism, the lie is that the soul either does not exist or is not immortal, and that no other realms other than the physical are accessible to humans, and all existence ends with death. The truth of atheism focuses on biological and chemical processes as the explanation of human experience. With Christianity, the archaic language sufficiently hides the truths hidden in the Bible. Other religions, likewise, have their own lies or obfuscations which suffice to keep them within the range of acceptable deception. So far, this system has served humanity well. We have around 7 billion people on the planet, and the number is still growing. However, this is also the problem. Humans seem to have developed technology faster than sociology. This seems to be a result of the war paradigm. The war paradigm arises from the holes in the three mechanisms. The disagreements and lies within and between belief systems must be kept hidden. Wars also serve as a distraction. The deceiver class has used them to their advantage for years. As a result of thousands of years of deceivers, i.e., those in power, taking the best resources and using them to their advantage, i.e., producing more offspring than the average deceivee, we create a world where the desirable traits of a mate are becoming ever more destructive. Now the world sits at crossroads of self-destruction. The greatest lie told, often by the powers that be, are that we are separate, that we are not one, that we are not spirit, but flesh. Flesh can be easily controlled, whereas spirit cannot be. If our true nature were really known to the world, the human race would be able to continue to develop. However, as it stands, the chance of inevitable self-destruction is very high. Together, this mechanism, which holds our focus day and night upon the material, physical, animal, three-dimensional world, and keeps us ignorant of our immortal, eternal, connected, spiritual self, is therefore called, in sum, the containment mechanism. The container is therefore the natural man, being that man in totality is a trans-dimensional being, i.e. consciousness is not definable as a dimension. With access to realms of knowledge beyond his senses, he is therefore kept constantly and actively unaware of his true nature by all of the given mechanisms. Usually only upon death does this containment mechanism fail to work. It is normally active 24 hours per day. It works to keep your consciousness completely busy with the actions of this world or plane of existence so that you have the best chance of reproducing. Others of the opposite sex, sensing that you are focused on the world, will therefore be attracted to you. And when this mechanism fails, we awaken to another aspect of our being, which we have not previously been able to access. It lies outside the brain, chemistry, and rules of this world. In summary, the purpose of this video was to explain and demonstrate the first principle of gaining access to further truth, which is to understand who you really are and why you are not able to so easily perceive the truth. In future videos, I will show you the consequences of recognizing the containment mechanism. We will delve into further truths as well as explain how we can systematically and scientifically remove ourselves at will from the containment mechanism without having to die.